Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm doing a review of Ampar restaurant in Valencia. It's inside the Hospes Palau de la Mar Hotel in Valencia, which is supposed to be kind of a resort type spa hotel. And I've done a review of that hotel. Unfortunately, it's supposed to be 5-star. I didn't think it was even close in terms of its service standard. So I'll have that at the end of this video. And likewise with this restaurant, you expect with a very high-end 5-star hotel that you'd have a restaurant to that effect. Again, very similar to the hotel in terms of the, I guess, exterior or the facade looks like a very high-end stuff, but when you get into the core, unfortunately, it's not there. Now, to kind of give the credit to the restaurant, I did complain. In fact, I did walk out of the restaurant, which is unusual. I don't think I've ever done that before. Just not because they were really bad. They were very nice people. It's just frustrating, and I didn't kind of want to deal with it anymore. They told me they were short-staffed, and so they did tell me some things afterwards. But again, just like the hotel, they kind of dealt with things afterwards. Were not upfront with things. They were just kind of like, when it happens, then we'll just tell you at that time there was a problem. So anyways, let's start with it. Started off okay. It's a late dinner too, so shouldn't have been crowded, but they said they were short staffed when I started to complain. Our server was actually very nice. He tried his best. It seemed like other guests were really enjoying themselves. It was just maybe me, or I was just a bad time. So we started with this bread, and again, it's hard for me to figure out how much these are costing, because actually they did comp me the meal in terms of, I was so unsatisfied that they said don't pay for the meal. So that's very good of them. So this was the bread. I think they did charge me for this, and the waiter did tell me this was a specialty of Valencia. However, I found in other restaurants they just gave me this bread. Anyways, it wasn't as special as I thought, but that could be my personal preference. We went with the waiter's recommendations, and this is the pil cod fritters with toasted capitanette, and I thought it was okay. I've had other cod fritters in Spain, and thought I mean, it could be a personal taste. It was okay. I didn't think it was that bad, so I thought it was just okay. At 17 euros for the dish, I thought it was up there in terms of price. So, but I think it's a fair deal. I will mention this. We probably should have known this. It was quite slow, so I think the starter did take maybe 30, 45 minutes to take up this fritter. Even my glass of wine was fairly slow, but we were fairly patient with it. We didn't have a lot to do, so we were not kind of freaking out too much about things. Where the kind of meal took a bad turn is that, we waited almost like an hour and a half for our main course. I'd finished my first glass of wine, ordered a second glass of wine. It wasn't coming. So, we thought, okay, that's fine. And as long as the food's good, we don't mind. But we waited and the food wasn't good. So it was quite frustrating. I didn't have my second glass of wine. And then we waited for the food, which was not quite good. So here's the veal cheeks with dates tatin for 22 euros. So I don't think that's expensive. It was okay. I think what I really had a problem with, as you'll see in the next photo, is that the veal cheek was okay in terms of tenderness. I've had more tender. It was a little bit dry, and likewise, there was a cartilage at the base. And so the waiter tried to explain to me, well, cheeks do have cartilage. I said, yes, I do know cheeks have cartilage, but basically when you have a braised veal cheek, you probably want to make sure that cartilage is kind of nice and tender. That's why people usually eat veal cheeks, because they're a little bit tender. And I showed him what my complaint was. And so it just seemed like both this and the next dish, which is lobster, were overcooked. And I think what happened was, unfortunately, because they were understaffed, it was sitting for a long time, it was kind of lukewarm. So I think what happened was at the pass that the food had come out, the servers didn't have enough time, and it just sat, and so it got overcooked. And that's when when I was telling them this, the complaints and talking about it's probably overcooked, they said, "Oh yes, that's sorry, we're short one server." So it's how you deal with things. I just thought it was kind of not dishonest, but I thought it was kind of very similar to how the hotel deals with things. Oh, when you complain, then they kind of tell you, "Oh, that was the problem," and just that's not, I think, how five-star kind of establishments should be run. I didn't see a manager. It was up to the waiter to kind of deal with me. Again, it was kind of weird because it wasn't that busy. It was kind of, we were one of the later tables, but it still seemed that they were kind of very stressed. And then this is the lobster au gratin with tear peas and a fried egg for 29 euros, which I don't think is unreasonable if it's cooked correctly. But unfortunately, as you'll see by the next picture, it was overcooked and it had the consistency of like really overcooked chicken. And again, that's how we kind of explain to the waiter, hey, both of these are overcooked. Probably you had them at the past too long, and that's why they sat. They were kind of lukewarm. And then he explained to us, oh, yeah, we're understaffed. So again, that's probably not the way that you should run a really good restaurant. Wait for someone to complain and then kind of give excuses. You should really be upfront with things and or just deal with it. And I think that was consistent with this whole property. They were doing this all the time, kind of hiding issues and not being organized, not really very well organized. So it's unfortunate, the situation, because I thought the waiter was trying to do his best. And so I just said, listen, I'm good. I'm just going to ask for the bill. He said, we're not going to charge you for the main courses. You didn't eat them. You barely touched them, and they were just going to charge me for the cod fritters and the wine. But when the menu came, they had actually charged me for the second glass of wine, which he forgot to bring to me. And again, at that point, I was just so frustrated. I just went to the hotel lobby and said, can you please deal with this? I mean, it's not that it was just bad service, but I had waited almost like an hour and 45 minutes for my meals. Everything was wrong, and I just couldn't get through to them. It was just continuing to spiral badly. And so I just probably shouldn't have walked out, but it was just very frustrating situation. And not that they were being unkind or mean or anything like that. It was just very frustrating, and they just didn't seem that could get their act together. Unfortunately, the waiter was left to deal with me. There was no manager in sight. It was quite disorganized, and even though it was kind of very late at night, they still seemed very frantic. So unfortunately, I'm not going to recommend this restaurant at all. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Until next time, happy eating.